Defenseman who is now out of the NHL playoffs, but Chelios has not been seen yet. We do know that his wife is expecting their 4th child, and that very well might have something to do with Chris Chelios' decision not to be here right now.
The Americans started really well with a victory against the French 5-1. Their next game was against Norway 7-2, and then 5-3 over the Czech Republic. And then they come up against the Swedes, and it's 6-2. The Finns beat them 7-2. Have the wheels fallen off the wagon?
Well, they did start out very strong. They have really come up against it their last 2 games. They haven't looked sharp. They haven't been able to get things going. It's a game of breaks. They had a couple of lucky breaks against the Czechs. Hebert had a good game in the net. It's just a question of getting a couple of bounces their way, and the Americans can play with anybody on the night. This Russian team, though, has really improved as the tournament has gone on, and they really are looking stronger every day.
Well, they got a fairly easy start against Great Britain, 12-3, the victory, and then the Italians 7-0. The Austrians put up a struggle, 4-1, but they still beat them. And then the Canadians came back after the Russians had blanked the Germans 6-0, and the Canadians beat them 3-1. So just 1 loss in 5 games. The Russians looking very, very strong, and they have a lot of firepower, as we said. They can put the puck in the net.
The Russians ended up 2nd in Group A behind the Canadians. The Americans ended up 3rd in Group B. This is going to be a battle. The Russians on the ice, just striding through, going through the motions very slowly, loosening up the legs. The Americans yet to come on the ice.
Mikhail Stelenkov is between the pipes for the Russians. He played 10 games with Anaheim, 28 years old, 2.65 goals against average. And a surprise backup there with Albert Chergazeyev. A lot of people thought Ivanikov would be the backup in this one, but I think the Russians feel comfortable with Chergazeyev, and they're hoping Stelenkov will not have to come out from between the pipes. A lot of NHL material out there for the Russians. Yushkevich is back from Philadelphia, Zhitnik from LA. We've got Kamensky, the big forward who has trouble adapting to the ice surfaces in the National Hockey League, but boy, he's flying over here. The bigger surfaces here give him room to move. That's Valery Kamensky. And, well, you go down the list, you got Yashin, the young star for Ottawa, and Kovalenko. Ulanov played in Winnipeg, and so many international stars as well. They have a really packed side of excellent hockey players.
There are NHL representatives here and a lot of coaches and scouts from the European leagues. It is rumored that Kamensky would be interested in coming back to Europe. He is considered probably, as you said, Paul, the best European player. He likes the big ice surface. The North American style and the smaller rinks hasn't really suited him the way the European ice surface does. But Kamensky would have to be paid a very handsome amount to be able to come back to Europe. He is on a nice salary in Quebec.
If you take a look at the USA team, Hebert plays for Anaheim in the National Hockey League. Wolanin on defense, along with Beers, that's Quebec and Edmonton. Chambers, Tampa Bay. Going down the list, you got Doug Waite, the top goal getter for Edmonton. 24 plus 50, giving him 74 points on the year. Sacco from Anaheim, Sweeney from Anaheim, Podine from Edmonton, Cole from Tampa Bay, Bourque plays for Ottawa, Lilly at Anaheim, and Lindsay, Florida. Young, Scott Young from Quebec. He really has impressed her at this tournament. Doug McSween, the defenseman from Anaheim, has spent a lot of time on the ice. Sean Hill, Anaheim again. Chiavaglia, good hockey player playing his hockey in Leksand in Sweden. And there's a handful of international and American Hockey League players out there, but it's predominantly NHL. The teams that didn't make it to the playoffs have players represented here. The Russians are going to be fast, and they're going to be very physical on the puck. The Americans are going to have a lot of work to do to stay with the Russians, that's for sure.
They've got to get off to a good start. They don't want to get behind the 8 ball, and they've got to stay out of the penalty box.
This game is coming to you live from the Forum in Milan. First period action coming up. Waite goes into the face-off circle. Correction, Janney goes into the face-off circle. And that comes back to Beers. Beers tips it up to Young. Young drives it all the way in, and the puck bounces over the far side. Both teams will need to work on these bounces off the boards and off the plexi. We saw in practice some weird and wonderful things coming off the plexiglass, and the teams will have to work with that as they go on. The tip up onto the wing. Fedulov waits for the drop pass. It doesn't come his way. Going in quickly is Biakin. Biakin tries to get it out front. American standing around as Podine gets a push on that. And Shendelev sends it in. Beers just trickles it along the boards down the ice. The Americans go for a quick change as Biakin picks it up. Biakin with the Russians changing on the fly as well. Still with Biakin. Nice blast. Working in. A chance now. Good save by Hebert. Yashin cruising in there with Kozlov. Sweeney. Sweeney comes up. Taps it up on the wing, and we have a whistle on the plate.
Offsides being called against the Americans. Hebert having to get himself into the game in a hurry. Kozlov coming right at him. Good save with a pad. Got his leg out there in a hurry. Good reflexes by Guy Hebert. Sweeney bringing the puck up to the Russian blue line. The Americans just offsides.
Face-off just outside the Russian zone. Wolanin peppers that into the far side. And the Americans going in very hard indeed. Going to be a penalty on the play. The Russians taking their goalie off and bringing it up now. The penalty is against USA. As soon as they touch it, the whistle will blow. Zhitnik brought it over. Shot wide of the targets, and the mobile defenseman for Russia carrying that puck right up to the blue as Kamensky was dumped.
First penalty going against the Americans. Exactly what they do not want to do is take penalties. Lazaro going to the box for elbowing. Lazaro going in along the boards. A little bit of a hit from behind. It didn't look like much of an elbow to me. Makela really didn't see the play. He turned around, and then he made the call.
Face-off deep in USA territory. Nikolitin goes into the box as the Russians have the man advantage. That's tipped back, and Chambers takes a swipe at it. Only goes back to Zhitnik at the blue line, all the way back behind the goal. Kozlov brings it in. Hebert reaches up for that. Nikolitin taps it away, and Sweeney takes a swipe at it as Sean Hill got it all the way down the ice. Americans go for another change as Young and Podine jump on the ice. Little tap up to Nikolitin. Nikolitin works on the right side, looking for places to go. Slams on the brakes as Chambers stays with him. Ulanov is calling for it on this side. Nikolitin looking for the give and go. That comes right through the crease. Ulanov gets it back. Shot wide of the target. Zhitnik. Sean Hill losing it. Hill losing it as Chambers goes after his man. All the way back to Zhitnik. Ulanov on this side, walking into the top of the circle, goes back. Zhitnik again to the far side. Shot way off the plexi, way above the net. Little tap in as Yashin takes a hit from Podine. Ulanov sends it across to Zhitnik. The Russians taking a lot of time on this power play as that comes back to Zhitnik. Some good stuff by the Americans as they hang on to that box out there. 37 seconds on the power play. That deflected away. Goes into the corner, and the Americans pushing the Russians wide. Ulanov lets a shot go. Deflected off Podine's skate. Tapped along the boards. Chambers is there. Hill is there too. Chambers with a lot of space drives that down the ice.
19 seconds left on Lazaro's penalty. The Americans going for a change once again. Bort coming off the bench quickly.
USA with weight being tied up deep, but the Americans are doing a good job of killing this one off. 4 seconds now on the power play. Got a penalty coming up here. The Americans are back at full strength.
Makela not happy with something that was said on the Russian bench. He quickly goes over to the penalty box, makes his call. Ulanov makes his way to the penalty box. Makela not taking any grief off any of the players. The Americans will have the man advantage.
Face off in neutral ice territory. The American penalty had just expired. And the Russian penalty now is a 10-minute misconduct.
Initially, it looked like Makela was going for the 2-minute unsportsmanlike. He is given a 10-minute misconduct. The teams will be at full strength 5-on-5. Imalin is tied up in the corner, and the Americans get it up to the hash marks. Frolov puts a big hit and goes down himself. Tapped up nicely to Bezukladnikov. Imalin circles in the center, and that's dropped back on the D. Fedulov couldn't handle that. Sweeney has it, and it's tipped all the way into Russian territory. 4 minutes, 4 seconds gone on the first period. No score in this game. Ulanov sitting for 10. That isn't going to please his agent, who's in the crowd. We've seen Andy Murray here from Winnipeg. He's apparently over here to try and make sure the deal and the contract get re-signed for Ulanov to go back to Winnipeg.
Well, you certainly can't impress if you're in the box for 10 minutes. The Americans changing on the fly. Sacco goes in. Beers gets it up the middle. Sweeney trying to get it back. This is better. Stalenkov hangs on to that. Lazaro was cruising. He had the wheels turning.
Good touch by Lazaro, trying to get himself in there. Poked the puck past the Russian defenseman, but Stalenkov quick to come out and pounce on the puck.
Good decision by the goaltender. A lot of guys would have flipped that away, but the angles were cut down around him. Face off deep in Russian territory. 4 minutes, 35 seconds gone on the period. And Ulanov looks up at the clock. He's got a long time to go. Sweeney unable to get down on that one. Yushkevich tapped up onto the wing. The Russians now coming up quickly. Smirnov fires that in. Neaton goes in for USA and just lobs it out of the zone down the ice. Icing is the call.
The Americans forced to ice the puck. Berezin coming in hard on the forecheck. German supporters not pleased with the fact that their team finished 5th and has gone home, but they are pleased with the fact that this guy Berezin is on his way to Cologne next year on a 2-year contract.
This is the first game in the quarterfinals. Sweden against Italy tonight, 8 o'clock European time and 7 o'clock in Great Britain. That should be a good one. Should be a packed house. The Italians coming out in their thousands to support the home team. Tapped up on the wing. The Americans with Hill picking up the puck. Nicolishin traps Hill right at center. Tapped away as Jenny got the puck back to Yushkevich. Yushkevich starts it up, and another change on the fly for the Russians. Yushkevich hit the blue line, was taken out of the play by Neaton. Pass coming up now to Young. Young has got room on the wing. Drop back. Sacco tries to flip it in. Young all the way back to Jenny. Shot comes in. Young got a piece of it, and that was tipped away nicely by Stalenkov in center ice. Kamensky breaking now, trying to go in, looking for places to go. Good save on the blocker. Hebert coming up big as Biakin picks it up. Biakin going down the right side against Sweeney. Sweeney puts a big hook on, and that's tipped away. Shendelev has to go back. Circling up front is Kovalenko. Up on the wing to 18, Kozlov. A bouncing puck goes deep. Wolanin is there. Tipped up nicely to McSween. Biakin loses control of that for the moment. Pass over to Nicolishin. Oh, this is nice. Russians going in as Lilly was trying to get back. Yashin broke in front of the goal.
Big save by Hebert. A couple of players getting involved in some fisticuffs next to the net after the play has ended here. The referee and linesman separating him. Yashin with a great move. He came from the left wing, went right straight across the blue line, picked the pass up, and he was in there on Hebert. Hebert way out of his goal. Plays that puck very nicely and holds on for a face-off.
Hebert has come up with a couple of good saves in the first 6.5 minutes of this period. He's looking very sharp. We talked about stomach cramps the other day. Well, that seems to be behind him now. Faced off in USA territory. Yashin stays out there. Told to get out of the circle as Nicolishin takes over.
Yashin, who led the Ottawa Senators in scoring, has made a statement that he would really like to break away from the twin image that he's been given with Daig, the superstar French-Canadian. He really would like to have his own identity, and he certainly put the puck in the net this year. People know who he is.
Yashin on the puck now. Yashin breaks towards the net. Kozlov flips it over. The shot, one-timer, right through the crease. A big chop there by Hebert as that's poked along the boards. Frolov trying to get something going. The one-timer doesn't come there from 24, Nicolishin. Penalty coming up. The Russians are going to go on the power play as goaltender comes out of the net. Extra attacker goes on.
Makela fell for that one. Beers had to stick him, but there was nothing to it. Nicolishin took a nice dive. The Americans are going to be called for hooking when the whistle's finally blown.
Good stuff here from Zhitnik. Zhitnik slams on the brakes at the top of the circle. That goes right through the crease again. Comes all the way out. It'll be touched by Sweeney. And power play coming up for the Russians.
Well, Bob Beer is still shaking his head. He knew it was coming. Makela giving him the hooking call. The Russians go to the power play. 7:38 gone in this first period. Still no score. Hebert has been big in the American net, really coming up with some nice saves. Shalenkov going for a skate around his goal right now. He really hasn't seen very much action.
Just a couple of pucks have come his way.
Nicolishin with the dive. Beers goes for hooking.
Biakin in neutralized territory drops that back. Kamensky circles with a puck. Hits the red line. Kamensky slows it down, tips it in. Going in quickly is Kovalenko. Kovalenko takes a big hit. Wolanin picks up the puck. Well, he doesn't, and it's bobbled out front. The Americans getting it out of the zone. Young breaks down the left side. Podine is going up with him. Young lets the shot go, and that's deflected high. Podine picks it up. The Americans pushing the puck in the corner are playing some good hockey. 1:23 on the power play. Both the U.S. and the Russians changing on the fly. Biakin is dumped, but he gets it into the zone. Wolanin is back. And a lot of Russian players falling down out there as Kovalenko was hit in front of the net. Shendelev back at the blue line, gets the pass, gets it over to Biakin. Biakin tips it in beside the net. McSween can't grab it. Shot comes in on goal. Shendelev let that fly from close in.
Hill couldn't control the puck. It went right back to the point. The Russians with another good shot, but an excellent save by Hebert once again.
Biakin is dumped, but again the defenseman brings it all the way up the ice and tries to make something out of nothing. 33 seconds on the power play. 9 minutes, 10 seconds gone on the period. Still no score in this one. Russia now on the attack, hitting the blue. Coming in quickly, Bezuklednikov. Gorbachev. All the way back to Sorokin. Sorokin slides it across the ice. Hebert goes down. McSween drags that down, and it's shot all the way down the ice. Good stuff from the USA. 3 seconds on the power play. Chambers has it, gets it out of harm's way. USA back at full strength. Shot. And the Americans now bringing it out into neutralized territory as Podine goes after his man. That's picked up by McSween. McSween taps it forward. Janney goes in and tries to slide it through. McSween takes the shot. And Stalenkov, for a moment, almost lost that one.
The Americans coming into Russian territory. Podine and Young doing an excellent job killing off the latter part of the penalty that the Americans had as Beers got back on the ice. The Americans went to the offense. McSween taking the shot from a sharp angle. Janney right by the side of the net, hoping for a rebound, but Stalenkov able to hold on.
Janney gets that back, but the Russians pick it up. A 1-on-3 situation. Shot wide of the target as Berezin let that fly. Along the boards, Podine. Podine working against Bure. Little tip on the wing. Janney tries to get it out front, and that almost worked. USA going for a change again. Hebert. Bork along the boards, loses control of the puck. Loose man out front. Bouncing puck as Bork moved in there to help out Hebert. And we have another face-off on the play.
Americans changing it up once again. Neat getting a piece of his man. The Americans lucky to get away with that one.
Berezin gets back on the bench after being dumped to the ice. And face off again in USA territory. 10 minutes, 40 seconds gone on the first period. Still no score in this one. Dropped all the way back. The shot right on the target. Zhitnik letting that fly from about 58 feet out.
Yashin coming into the net after the face-off. Doug Waite staying right with him, making sure that he didn't get anywhere near Hebert. Nicolishin tried to get a skate on that. Zhitnik tees it up. Another shot! And that deflected off Hebert, went upstairs, and the Russians applying some pressure out there. Drop back, hit a skate, comes out into the circle, picked up by Lilly. Lilly fires it to the far side, and the Americans just flip it into the zone. Lilly goes in quickly. Frolov comes out in front of the net. Lilly has about 6 strides to Frolov's 1. Frolov is a mountain of a man out there, but Lilly stayed with him. Kozlov was dumped. Coming up on the wing now. Waite tries to get it out front. Deflected away. Bork is out there. McSween back at the blue line. Loose puck behind the net, and the Russians bring it out quickly. Everyone changing as that's tipped deep into the zone. Both teams going for very short shifts out there. Wolanin fires it up on the wing. Lazaro unable to go anywhere as we approach the 12-minute mark of this first period. Still no score. This is live on Eurosport. The Russians now coming down on the attack. A chance for Kamensky. Kamensky was spun around nicely by Neaton. Neaton keeps his stick right on Kamensky. He knows that if he gives him an inch, he could take a mile. Coming up on the wing now. Sacco, rink wide pass. The Americans coming up with 3 players up the blue line. This is nice stuff. Drop pass, the shot, the backhander by McSween, wide of the target. The Americans taking the body out there are not looking bad. Good hit by Lazaro along the boards. The Americans got the puck right back off that check from Lazaro. McSween fired it into Russian territory. Another change on the play as the Russians come up. Little tap up to Imalin. Imalin gets away from Hill and breaks down on the boards. Hill gets back and spins him around. Makela is right there to keep an eye on Hill. Americans getting it out of the zone. Janney tries to flip it in. That hit a skate. Sorokin got it out, but not a great pass from him. Hill puts it to the far side. Richter. Long shot by Richter is upstairs and glove down. Biakin. Nice pass up the middle to Bezukladnikov. Bezukladnikov waiting for support. Right in front, the shot comes wide of the target.
Gorbachev let that one fly, but missed the net completely. Flipped out of the zone, and both teams again will change.
The shifts are 30 to 45 seconds max, and players are getting right back off the ice. There's a lot of ice surface here. The Americans are playing the body. That takes a little bit of steam out of them as well as the Russians. They aren't staying out there very long.
Bure drops it back, looks for the return pass. It goes the other way, but Bure races in rather to pick up the loose puck. Can't get there in time. Weight is dumped by Dmitry Yushkevich. Big hit by big number 2.
Good shoulder check. Doug Waite walked right into that one at the blue line.
Waite stays out there for the moment anyway as the Russians come back. Beers goes over and puts the hook on. The shot comes. Hebert grabs that on the glove side. We'll have another face-off.
The Russians are getting most of the shots off, but Hebert is really looking solid in the net for the Americans.
Hebert is definitely the key out there for USA if they want to stay with this fast-skating, hard-shooting Russian team. He's got the angle. Nothing to shoot at.
He's very quick, and he stands up nicely. He goes side to side. A hot goaltender can keep you right in a game. The Americans haven't been scored on yet.
14:27 gone on the first period. From the face-off, that's dropped back. Wolanin gets that, tries to work along the boards. He has a little help from Lazaro. Ulanov. Tip forward to Sweeney. Sweeney can't control it, and the Russians now with Zhitnik getting the rink-wide pass. That's intercepted by Lazaro. And the Russians now trying to work it up. Zhitnik drops it back. Kozlov tries to work it in, and Wolanin just backhands it out of the zone and out of the rink.
Both teams changing again. Ulanov going to the bench. He certainly is a fresh player. He's just come on the ice from serving his 10-minute misconduct. Took a quick shift and then went off the ice. He'll try and loosen himself up. He's been in the box for quite a while.
Face-off just inside the U.S. zone as Hill gets it in the circle. Hill fires it to the far side. Neaton puts it all the way down the ice. Icing is the call. The face-off will come back into USA territory. Less than 5 minutes on the period. And Bopes, are you surprised there isn't a score out there?
No, not at all. We said before the game that if Hebert is in the net, and the Americans just do what they have to do and dump the puck in. They haven't had a lot of shots on the Russian goal, but they haven't been scored on either. Hebert's doing his job, and the Americans, for their part, are skating hard enough to stay in this game right now.
The Americans are not going to try to compete with the Russians in the possession game. The Russians can have the puck for most of the game as long as the Americans come up with most of the goals. Young puts it up. Janney tries to feed it through, and that's knocked down. The Russians now stringing the passes together. Coming back on the far side. Podine will go and pick this up as Bure tries to get back up on his feet. Hill bangs it off the boards. Shendelev, big hit from behind. There's going to be a penalty out there. The goaltender coming off the ice. Eventually the whistle blows.
Well, now it's been evened right up. Podine getting the stick in on the Russian player. Each team will have a man going to the box. That's a silly penalty taken by the Americans.
Really crazy out there. Shendelev came in hard. The hand went up. The referee had indicated a penalty against the Russians.
The delayed call was on. It was going to go against Shendelev. Podine right there near the puck carrier, getting the stick in. The Russian player going down hard enough to convince Makala that it was indeed a hook. Both teams will have a player in the penalty box. 15:56, the time of the coincidental penalties. Face-off in neutral ice territory.
as the Russians get back in a hurry. Long pass up to the blue. Bezuklednikov tried to get a handle on that. Imalin comes up. Imalin has no one up to help, and now Imalin, pushed out of the play by Chambers, just dumps it in. Beers on the far side. Trickles that out of the zone. That comes over to Chambers. Chambers hits the red line. Still with Chambers. Chambers drops it back. Little tip through to Chambers, and he was tied up. The Russians pick it up. 1:25 remaining on the penalties. Beers, nice pass up onto the wing. The Americans are throwing the passes together, but they're not getting the shots away. A one-on-one situation now. Coming in on goal, and we already have a whistle down on the blue line, an interference call.
Imalin trying to tell the referee that his stick was being held. Interference is a call going against the Russians. Biakin going over to have a word with the referee. Berezin going right in on the American goal. That wasn't going to matter anyways. The whistle had blown long before Berezin got to Guy Hebert in the American net. Referee sorting things out now. The Russians are going to have another player in the box. 1 minute and 9 seconds left on Podin and Shendilev's penalty. 2 minutes now for Imalin on the interference call.
16:48 gone on the period. 4-on-3 situation out there. Janney talking to Hill. And Young. Kamensky wins that, gets it back to Smirnov. Smirnov slides it down the ice. Neaton will go back. Neaton starts it up. Pass up on the wing to Hill. Hill gets it over the blue. Janney goes in front. Janney moving over to the left side now. The Americans setting it up in the zone. A 4-on-3 situation. Neaton at the top. Moving in. Takes the shot. Good save by Stelenkov. Got the pad. Neaton traps it down with the glove, and it's held by the Americans in the zone. Hill. Hill sliding it across to Janney. Janney. Hill. One-timer. Rebound. Loose puck. Number 1 goal. Janney.
Like we said, it's a game of breaks. The Russians have had the better of the play throughout this period, but the Americans get the first goal with a power play. Good work by the Americans. Hill and Neaton doing an excellent job at the blue line. Neaton with a good shot earlier on the shift. Hill gets that one away. Janney right there to tap it into the open net. Stelenkov coming up big twice, once off Neaton, once off Hill. He couldn't control the rebound. An easy goal for Craig Janney.
From the face-off, that comes all the way back into Russian territory. Zhitnik. Kozlov trying to get that through, and it's fired to the far side. The Americans with Sacco breaking. Sacco loses that in the skate. The Russians bring it out of the zone with Zhitnik firing it to the far side. 2 minutes now remaining on the period. Yashin couldn't hang on to that. Willanen taps it away.
Number 23, Scott Young, and number 28, Sean Miller.
Oh, Stelenkov, big save. Sacco shot again. Lazaro. Sweeney puts it upstairs. Sweeney, Lazaro, Sacco buzzing around that net, and Waite comes out to glove that down.
20 seconds still on the Imalin's penalty.
USA having a good spell right here at the end of the period, coming up to the last minute and a half. Waite went in, and Lazaro stays in there. Puck at the side of the net is eventually frozen with Lazaro mixing it up. Puck on the mesh, and we have another face-off.
Lazaro having the final touch, putting it onto the back of the net. The face-off will come outside of Russian territory. 5 seconds left on the penalty to Imalin for interference. Americans with a couple of good shifts. The goal really has lifted them. Lazaro and Sacco doing an excellent job linking up with Tim Sweeney. They went close a couple times on their last shift.
From the face-off, it goes up on the wing, and Beers slides it over. Bork drives that in. Shelenkov puts it into the corner. Both teams are back at full strength out there. That's flipped high over the boards into the bench. And we'll have another face-off. 1 minute, 3 seconds remaining on the first period. 1-0, the USA leading the Russians. Siplakov and Wade at the face-off circle. Siplakov is told to get out of the circle. Wade hangs around. The Russians getting that away. Puck picked up in the corner, and USA looking a lot more confident than they did against the Swedes and the Finns. Lilly tries to bring that puck out. Slipped all the way back into the corner. Bezukladnikov tips it up on the wing, and Bork shoots it back in. Kovalenko to the far side. The Russians, the shot comes in, and Hebert makes a save on Bure. A shot right at the goaltender. Smirnov picks it up and puts it through neutralized territory. That goes all the way down the ice. Bork will be there for USA. Beers. Berezin went in hard, but that didn't come his way. Tipped along the boards. Still dancing along the blue line. And we have another whistle on the play.
Waite went into the boards hard in front of the American bench. The Russian ducking under the check. Doug Waite really went for a spill. He's all right. The Americans having a quick chat with him. Lilly taking his man out along the boards. Waite going in hard.
12 seconds remaining on the period. Fedulov gets it back to Biakin. Biakin hits the blue line, gets it off to Fedulov. Fedulov fires it to the far side. That's knocked down, and there goes the buzzer. A slow start for USA, but they played some good defensive hockey. At the end of the period, they came good with a power play goal by Jani.
Fedulov limping off the ice right now for the Russians. We'll have to watch and see if that's very serious or not. He took a good spill right in the neutral zone. A couple players coming together. A good spell by the Americans was all it took to get them on the board. A power play goal, Paul, as you said. And the U.S. 1-0 out in front after 20 minutes of play.
Well, the Russians really haven't started to click as we thought they would be clicking, but we've still got 2 periods of hockey. 2 periods of hockey to come, and a lot can happen in 40 minutes.
I don't totally think it's a question of them not clicking. Hebert has been sharp in the net. The shots that the Russians have put out on 3, 4, 5 of those shots were good quality shots. Hebert just came up with a save when the Americans needed it. It's plain and simple as that. If he can stay hot, the U.S. are right in this game.
Just a reminder this evening, Sweden against Italy. Another game here in the Forum in Milan. So we're looking forward to that too, but we're going to take a break now. USA 1, Russia 0. Second period live coming up in a moment. Welcome back. Paul Ferguson here with Richard Beaupre. The Russians coming out on the ice. It's the start of the second period. The USA leading with a goal by Jani at 17:33. on a power play, and that's the way it stands. A lot of pressure coming from the Russians at the start of the period. The Americans got their game together after playing some good defensive hockey and took advantage of the one situation that came to them. Hebert has been strong between the pipes, and that's what they need to keep them in this contest.
The Russians do not have anything to panic about. They know they've got 2 periods of hockey left to play. Kamensky, 5 goals and 5 assists, 10 points. He's leading the scoring in the World Championships. A quick look once again at the American goal in the first period. Shot from the blue line. Jani right on top of the rebound. As I was saying, Fedulov, Kovalenko, they've got 2, 3, 4 guys up in the top, 10 or 12 in scoring. The Russians have got a lot of patience. They move the puck around nicely, and if they can get one past goaltender Hebert, they really could get them on track. They need to get one quickly, though, because Hebert has been hot.
Makala, the referee, calling the teams together. The Russians will be playing from left to right in the second period. I like what the Americans have been doing. I like the simple way they've been playing this game. The Russians have been throwing the puck around nicely, but the Americans have been working with the short pass and playing some good defensive hockey, really taking the body. I kind of like that today. I'm in that kind of mood.
Goes along with the purple check shirt you're wearing, Paul. I suppose that mood, if you want to call it that. Anyways, going back to the Americans, Paul, as you said, the way they're playing, you're impressed. Bork, Lazaro, Lilly, when they're on the ice, they play the body well. They're just good defensive hockey players. Lilly always has a man. Bork skates up and down his wing. He's a grinder. They do a good job on the Russians, and that allows the skaters like Young, Jani, Waite, it allows them to have the chance to get a rest as well.
Kamensky, long clearance down to the goaltender. He's flipped away. Kamensky coming in, almost breaks through. A chance now with a 2-on-2 situation. The Americans coming back slowly, but the Russians getting back in numbers. Vyakin picks it up and takes it to the far side of the rink. Right up the middle with the pass. Kamensky, the big stride. Kamensky as Beers goes back. Kamensky trying to put a move on him, gets it right out front. Hebert goes down. Vyakin came up quickly as Jani gets it now. Podine going in. Podine shoots. It goes upstairs.
Great pass by Jani. Good try by Podine. That puck just went over the goal. Shalenkov lucky on that one.
Young tried to bring that in and get the shot away. That didn't work, and the Russians are back on the attack now. Lazaro got in there to put the poke check on Kamensky. Flipped all the way around for McSween. McSween looking for places to go. McSween pops it up onto the blue. And the Americans, again, taking the man out there. Sweeney backhands that out of the zone. Lazaro puts the chop on that as it eventually trickles all the way back onto the D and flipped up onto the far side. Yashin trying to move in and make things happen, but the Americans are getting back in numbers. Lazaro hits the blue line. Sacco with a chance, goes in. The shot is there. Loose puck out front. Sweeney goes one way, and Zhitnik goes the other with the puck.
Good start by the Americans. 2 shifts, and they've had 2 great goal-scoring opportunities already. That shot going high and up into the crowd. Coming right back down onto the ice, Doug Waite picking the puck up for the linesman. A good start by the U.S., as I said. Podine going close. Sacco with a good opportunity. The Americans applying good pressure on the Russians.
Face-off in the American zone at the top of the circle. 1:49 gone on the second period. Still 1-0 for the Americans in this game. The winner goes on to fight in another game. The loser goes home. On Friday, it'll be Great Britain against Norway. The winner stays around in Pool A, but the loser will go down to Pool B to make room for the Swiss. Up on the wing, Bork stays with his man as that comes back to the blue. Neaton almost gave that away. Bezukladnikov was right on his tail. Dumped all the way down the ice for Sorokin. Sorokin being shadowed by Waite. Sorokin right up the middle, good pass, and the Russians now trying to break out. Makala keeps his arms down as Bezukladnikov was dumped in neutralized territory. The USA taking the body nicely, the long flip in. That goes to the far side of the net. Sorokin takes a swipe at it, but it's not out of the zone. Breaking in quickly is Podine. Podine, shot on goal. Loose puck in front. Goaltender down. He's lost it for a moment.
The Americans again coming close. A great feed from John Lilly over to Sean Podine. That's Podine's second opportunity this second period. Good stuff from the Americans. The Russians scampering to get back in position. Podine's shot going at Stalenkov. He can't handle it. Doesn't have a clue where it is. The big hit coming in on Podine. Charging is the call. The Russians go right to the penalty box. Frolov sitting for 2 minutes.
Podine took a swipe at that as it hit the ice, and his stick went right under the puck as it bobbled up over it. That's how close it was. Janney gets it back. Chambers has it at the blue line. Chambers goes in. A one-timer coming from Janney was an easy shot for Stalenkov to save. Podine and Janney. Young on this side.
2 minutes and 42 seconds of the second period.
Chambers moves into the top of the circle. Young moves in front of the net. Young gets manhandled right in front. Chambers takes the shot. Loose puck in front is covered up by Stalenkov.
Well, possibly going into the dressing room after 20 minutes of play up by a goal, that might have been enough to give the Americans a new vote of confidence, or it could possibly be something that Ron Wilson has said to the boys. But nevertheless, the Americans have come out in this second period and look like a totally different team than they did in the first. They are flying right now and moving the puck around nicely. Janney with a good opportunity on a one-timer, a feed coming from Chambers. The U.S. really playing good heads-up hockey right now.
Janney, Young, and Podine still out on the ice. Chambers right on the edge of the circle. 1:37 remaining on the power play. 3:05 gone on the period. That's cleared all the way down the ice. Hebert gets a little touch, and the Americans will start it up again. Kovalenko goes in and makes a gesture. Janney tips it up on the wing. Podine, who's playing some good hockey. One hand on the stick. Janney grabs it, drops it all the way back. Chambers is free on this side. Young is in the circle. Chambers breaks in. The one-timer comes. The shot is from Beers, and that is deflected away right at the goal. Young from the side of the net. Young got it free. Beers is there. He peppers it back in. Chambers way up on the wing. Puts it behind the net. Right in front. Young scores!
Scott Young with the goal. The Americans still moving the puck around nicely. Frolov can come out of the penalty box. That's a power play goal, the second one by the Americans in this game. Good work by the U.S. Chambers getting himself involved. Bob Beers there for the U.S. A nice goal by Scott Young. He drilled that one in. He didn't waste any time. 3 goals and an assist in these World Championships for Young. Chambers drilling the puck around. Behind the net is Janney. He is so smooth with the puck, knows what to do with it all the time. A good feed. Young fights off the defense and sends the puck home for the U.S.
Viakin reaches out for that. May have got a slight tip, but it didn't go where he wanted it to go. Yashin backhands that up for Nicolishin. Yashin back on the play. Puts it in front in the slot area, and the Americans back on the attack. Lazaro goes to the far wing, tries to backhand it in, gets a second attempt on it, and now the Russians breaking quickly. Coming up on the right side, Nicolishin drops that back.
Big hit on Nicolishin by Wolanin.
Tipped off the boards. McSween takes a swipe at that. Kozlov is hit hard by Lazaro. Things are starting to pick up out there. Yashin goes for the far side, and it's tipped away by the goaltender all the way back. Another shot comes in as Ulanov let it fly. The Americans now under pressure here in the second period as we come up to the 5-minute mark. Zhitnik right up on the blue. Wolanin goes after his man, and the Americans getting back in numbers as that comes over to Zhitnik. Shot comes in. Hebert pad save on the short side. That bounces into neutralized territory. Zhitnik feeds it back onto the blue. This game has really picked up a pace as Shendelev pops it off the boards, and the Russians now start to work through neutralized territory. Wolanin goes after his man. It's tipped out, and Sacco can't get onto that one.
Americans going for a change on the fly. The Russians moving right back into U.S. territory.
Imalin takes the shot right on the pads, and again, Hebert is there to grab onto that.
The Americans desperate to get back into the play. Waite, Bork, and Lilly were fresh off the bench. Ron Wilson going with another line change to save off Imalin by Hebert. As I was saying, Paul, Ron Wilson throwing Doug Waite in the center of John Lilly and Phil Bork. That's an interesting move because Bork and Lilly are good defensive players, like I said before. Waite's a guy that can handle the puck. He ditsy doodles. He's going to stabilize that line. He's got a good head for the game.
The Americans look like they're enjoying their hockey out there, and that's always a key. When a coach says to a team, enjoy yourselves out there, he means it. He wants you to enjoy what you're doing, and the Americans are smiling. They're having little jokes. They're winning by 2 goals, but nevertheless, they look relaxed. Long way to go yet, and this Russian team can move the puck around, and they can score goals. The puck being brought out into the circle, and the Americans working down the right side now. Loose puck right in front. The shot. Lilly goes in for the rebound. Waite did a lot of work there as the Russians now come back onto the attack. Loose puck going in. Shot wide of the target. Bure let that one fly, going by the right post. Lilly mixing it up in his own zone. A bouncing puck comes out to the red line. Waite is there. Waite gets the shot right on the target and then goes for a line change. Picked up by Tsiplakov. Tsiplakov drops it onto the blue line. Yushkevich and Bork collide. These two guys are very big indeed, and Bork stays right with him. Bork now goes for a change. Podine breaks towards the net. Janney on the far side with Podine. Podine now goes in. The shot. Stalenkov got a piece of that. The one-time score. Young again.
Well, the Russians are standing around in their own zone, and I can assure you the white shirts aren't. The U.S. are flying. Another good shift by Waite's line. Bork and Lilly and Doug Waite going close. They get off the ice on the move. Very quickly, Podine gets out there with Scott Young, Craig Janney, and they put another goal in the net for the U.S. 3-0, the Americans on top.
6:43 the time of the third goal here in the second period, and what an explosive second period this has been for the Americans. They have come out flying, and the Russians are not getting the chance to settle in this period.
Boris Mikhailov's on the Russian bench right now with his arms open, looking at all 5 of the players that were out on the ice, as if to say, hey guys, let's wake up, let's get going.
Kozlov was taken down heavily, and the Russians come back into their own zone. Drop pass as Yashin breaks up on the wing. The little tip to Yashin. Yashin hits the red line, feeds it all the way in. Kozlov tries to make something of that, and it comes back to Nicolishin. Nicolishin shot through a crowd. Chambers got a piece of it, and Hebert picks it up as it bounces off the backboards.
We've seen good offense. Now we see good defense from the U.S. Chambers and Beers, 2 steady defenders back there. Yashin in front of the goal. Beers had him all the way. Chambers had a piece of the shot. And Hebert alertly watches the puck come off the puck boards behind the goal. Good action once again by the U.S.
Hebert grabbing everything that comes his way. Bezukladnikov, one of the stars of that Russian Olympic team, and Lillehammer trying to muscle along the boards. That comes out nicely for Tsiplakov. Eventually pushed away, and back comes Bork. Bork fakes the first shot. That's flipped away as the goaltender went down, and the Russians now with 4 players in neutral ice territory. Bezukladnikov is trailing. Going in is Sorokin. And the Russians unable to get the shots away on goal. They come in. Bezukladnikov waiting out front. A loose puck is eventually smothered by the goalie.
Phil Bork's stick is broken behind the Russian goal. He had a good chance for himself. Broke his stick on the play. hustled over toward the bench. The guy's on the bench offering a stick. He got right back into his own end of the ice quickly, and he's the guy that goes down on his back and covers the puck up to help out Vwerk. That's good hustle by Phil Bourque. That is not Ron Wilson behind the American bench. That's assistant coach Tim Army.
Delay in the face-off because the officials still hadn't collected all the bits of the stick at the other end of the rink. 7:53 gone on the period. 3-0 the score. The Americans leading the Russians after goals by Jani and then 2 in this period by Young. From the face-off, Teplakov got it back, and the shot bounces down in the near corner. Yushkevich is calling for it back of the blue. Yushkevich unable to hang on to that. Jani breaks up and tries to get in there, but it's pushed away. Bude steered out of play by Neaton. Hill picks it up now. Hill gets it off the boards. Not a great clearance from him, but the Americans grab it. They're fighting and they're winning most of these loose pucks. 50-50 pucks are becoming American pucks. Both teams are changing on the fly. A little tip away by Lazaro as he races in. Yushkevich goes in. Lazaro bangs it off the boards. Bude, who hasn't been able to get going in this second period. Nice long pass up on the wing. And the Americans getting back in numbers. Flipped up on the right wing now. Again, both teams changing on the fly. Excellent skating by Biakin. Biakin with Sacco all over him. Penalty coming up. Biakin eventually picks himself up, and we have a whistle on the plate. Another penalty coming up.
Again, I hate to sound biased, but that's a questionable call by Makela. Biakin and Sacco went all the way down the ice one way, with Sacco having the puck. The play went the other way. Biakin loses an edge and falls down. Sacco is chasing him. He's right behind him. Makela doesn't see it from the proper angle. Slashing is the call going against Joe Sacco. The Russians aren't going to complain. They've got a 2-minute advantage, and they need it. They need a goal to get themselves into this game.
Well, you just heard Mr. Beaupre, the president of the Makela fan club, face off deep in U.S. territory. 9 minutes, 5 seconds gone on the period. That's flipped high all the way down the ice. Shendelev is out front. Frolov tips it up the middle. Kamensky on the right wing. Fedulov over the blue line. Lays it up on the left wing, and the Russians set it up. Kamensky calling for it behind the net. It didn't come his way, and the Americans really are fighting and winning the physical battle out there. Hill stands his ground. Shendelev gets it over. Big shot. Kamensky. Biakin broke his stick, picked another one up off the bench, and gets right back on the blue line. Shendelev taps it through. Biakin with a lot of time. Tees it up. Shot wide of the target. Kamensky was right there. Couldn't get the tip on it. Shendelev. Hill, as that comes off the top of the boards. Podine goes after his man and then doubles back. Back to Biakin. Biakin throws it in. The one-timer comes, and that's grabbed. Kovalenko letting the shot go. And this is a really lackluster performance by the Russians. They don't seem to want the puck.
They've got the man advantage, and they really do seem to have slowed down. They don't appear to be very hungry at all out there. Kovalenko getting the shot away right into the glove of Vwerk. Kovalenko took a nice chop from Sean Hill after the shot was taken. Americans are playing good steady defense, so they've got 55 seconds left to kill on Sacco's penalty.
Less than 10 minutes to go on the period. Sweeney skates all the way over to the bench to drop off a water bottle. That'll give the USA a little more time out there. Nikolitin in the face-off circle. Sweeney gets set. Tip back, and the Russians with Zhitnik. Zhitnik pops it up onto the right side, setting it up now. Kozlov taps it in, and the shot comes from Nikolitin, but it goes behind the net. All the way back to Zhitnik, who cruises over to the far post. And the Americans unable to clear it out. Shot comes in as Nicolishin got a piece of it, but Hebert saw that one all the way. All the way back to Ulanov, back to Nicolishin. Nicolishin moves in, looks for the little give and go. Nicolishin right in front. Zhitnik has it back now. Zhitnik goes along the boards. Ulanov skated in looking for the pass, and it didn't come his way. The shots are coming from silly angles out there. Beers gets a piece of it. He's dropped down, but Makela is not impressed. All the way back. Shot from the blue line. USA back at full strength as Ulanov cruised in on that one, got the shot away. Nicolishin's pass hit a skate. Nicolishin dumped on the play, but the Russians keep it in. Ulanov tits it up along the boards. Nicolishin picks himself up and gets out there. And eventually it's shot out of the zone. The USA will try to get a change, and so will the Russians. Zhitnik peppers it back in.
The Russians still trying to apply pressure. They're now dumping the puck in and chasing it. They like to carry it in. They're trying to do anything they can to get on the scoreboard.
Hebert comes out and grabs that one with Yashin right in his face.
Again, Hebert, the winner. He is really kicking shots out. The Americans are the hungrier team of the two, though. We talked before the game about disappointing performances against the Swedes and the Finns. I'm sure the Americans have heard that enough from the coaching staff. They've really come out in the second period fired up, and they're taking it right to the Russians. 3 excellent goals by the Americans in this game so far.
Bezukladnikov and Jani will do the honors. Excellent crowd here for this first game of the quarterfinals in the Forum in Milan, not the Forum in Montreal. It's a beautiful rink, though. Excellent facilities, great ice surface.
And you were saying earlier the hot dogs are nice. You've had 3 or 4 of them already.
I'm tired of all that pasta. Long shot. Hebert gloves it down for Hill. Hill starts it up. Pass up to Jani. Good little tip up. That was intercepted nicely, and the Russians coming back quickly. Hill goes in hard on Imalin. Neaton presses his man against the boards. The Russians, though, come up with a puck. Sorokin is calling for it back at the blue. A little tip goes into the corner. Deflection going the wrong way, and that's sliced all the way down the ice. Sorokin will get back for it, but the whistle blows for the icing.
We haven't had many icing calls in this second period. Again, the linesmen hustling over. Biakin, Podine having a little word. Makela comes over, the referee, Makela that is, to have a word with Podine. Doug Waite talking to Makela. He walks right into Shendelev. This guy really is a character. We're following the play-by-play with the referee now between whistles.
Makela has a sense of humor, that's for sure. Fedulov watches that bounce up high, and McSween got it over to Wolanin. The pass comes all the way back to the blue line. The shot comes in, and Hebert watches that all the way as Shendelev let it fly. Another good save from the goaltender.
Hebert kicking that one up into the crowd. That's a souvenir, and it's taken nicely. It's off an arm, not off the teeth or nose, jaw, take your pick. Fans are well awake.
They don't have the netting above the plexi here like they did in the other rinks, Shendelev. So what goes up goes over. McSween goes in now to try to get a handle on this. Little run there by Lilly, who hasn't seen ice time for a while. Bork is out front. Loose puck is there. Fedulov goes in hard. McSween takes him out of the play, and Bork moves up on the left side waiting for the pass, and that's clipped high up. It bounces off the top of the boards.
Well, that was a shot that Wolanin couldn't do again in 100 tries, I guarantee you. He flipped the puck high into the air. The puck actually hit right on top of the bench, the top of the boards in front of the bench to make that, to clarify that. It should have stayed in play. The whistle was blown. Face off at the point where that puck was pushed forward.
Yashin is there just inside the blue line. .13 gone on the period. Sweeney gets it back to Chambers, and Chambers puts it over to the far side. Giveaway pass there into neutral ice territory, given right back as Kozlov put it through neutral ice. Zhitnik slams on the brakes, waits for everyone to get in a position, gives it up to Nikolishin. Nikolishin at the red line, taps it in. Kozlov. Chambers, not the fanciest player out there, but he takes the body nicely, and that's why he's on the ice. Rink-wide pass. Lazaro tees it up, long shot, and Stalenkov lets that go. Rattle right back into the Russian blue. The pass up, Nikolishin picks it up, tries to take a shot on goal. It didn't work, and the Americans now coming up quickly. The Russians with 3 players trapped. Lazaro tries to put a move on Ulanov, and he saw that coming. Kozlov at the far side of the rink to Yashin. 18-19. Yashin gets spun around by Hill, but hangs on to that puck. Super strength. Bure now. Podine. The Russians starting to pick up their game here in the second period. 14-27 gone on the period. Bure now looking to do it on his own. Bure on the backhand. Hill goes after him. Penalty on the play.
Bure with a couple of cheeky moves, putting the puck through his legs. Tried to work something here on Sean Hill, bringing it back to his skate. Hill got the right paw out there and brought Bure down. The Russians will have a man advantage. 14:35 gone in the second period. The Americans still on top by 3.
The Americans taking their time to get Sacco and Sweeney out there. Lennon and McSween will help kill this off. Bezuklednikov gets set for the face-off. Sweeney moves into the face-off circle. That comes back to Wolanin. Wolanin drives that all the way down the ice. Stalenkov leaves that behind the net, and the Russians will start it off. 1:49 remaining on the power play. Frolov, good little move, goes in. Sweeney got a touch on that. It's tipped over to McSween. The Americans looking for the quick break as Sweeney was going up. McSween loses his footing, and the Russians now with Bezuklednikov coming down the right side. Bounces that off the boards. A little tip into Gorbachev from the side of the net. Loose puck is there, and the Americans will grab this. A long clearance by Wolanin. Stalenkov taps it up neatly. Sacco goes after his man. Gorbachev waits for support. Shendelev wants it over, gets it. Shendelev winds up, takes the shot. Wide of the net, looking for the tip, and that didn't happen. The Americans set up the box with 1 minute on the power play. Shendelev, big shot, big save.
Nice play by Sean Podine. He went down, blocked the shot, and quickly iced the puck for the Americans.
Young got a skate on that. Burke now steps on the ice. Yushkevich taps it up. Fedulov. Hebert goes down and cleared that away as Kovalenko went in and almost got goal number 1 for the Russians. Fedulov hits the blue line. Fedulov breaks towards the net. A return pass ends up on Kamensky's stick as Fedulov let it ride. Kamensky works his way in now. Lets the wrist shot go. Hebert down. Loose puck in front. Hebert was stranded on his backside, and that's cleared all the way down the ice. 6 seconds remaining on the power play. Fedulov picks it up. Fedulov tops it forward. The Americans are back at full strength. Shendelev takes the shot. Loose puck is there.
A good job again by the U.S. They kill the penalty off. Sacco getting back into the play quickly, or rather Sean Hill getting back into the play quickly. The shot coming from Shendelev right to Hebert's doorstep. He covers up. The Americans get back in a hurry. 1-2 shots thrown at Fedulov. That's just a nice way of saying, get out of here and stay away from the front of our goal.
Siplakov goes into the face-off circle. All the way back. Smirnov lets the shot go. Rebound comes out. Another shot right in front of the net, and the Americans tip that high and get it out of the zone.
Well, the crowd reacts. Hill shooting the puck out of play. Makela having a quick word with him. Hill didn't do that deliberately. He was trying to clear the zone. Hebert had made the save. Hill had picked the puck up from Guy Hebert. The Americans haven't panicked around the front of their goal at all. Every time Hebert does make a save, he is either allowed to hold the puck, or the Americans are taking the Russian bodies out of the play, or they're just simply picking the puck up and clearing it themselves.
Janney skates back with a water bottle. The last one that Hebert had was empty, and the Americans are slowing this game down. They're not allowing the Russians to pick up any speed at all. It's stop-start right now. The Russians are applying most of the pressure as Smirnov pushes that in. McSween goes into the corner. Young coming back. Young up on the right side. Podine breaks in the middle. Podine is right there, loose puck, and Shalenkov had to look around for that.
Good action again by the U.S. on the fly. The legs are going. Scott Young with a good burst of speed on the right wing. Going around, feeding the puck in front of the Russian goal before he went past the net. Right there was Sean Podine coming right into the play. Shalenkov with a good save. Americans changing their lines very quickly. We said we haven't seen Chelios out there. He's rumored to be here. Also, Pete Ciavaglia is a little beat up. He's not playing. And Bill Lindsay's out of the lineup today.
The Americans have 18 players, including their backup goalie. So a little short-handed. Shalenkov will get set for this one as it's to his left.
Good work once again, a pair of 24s. Nicolishin being taken out along the boards by McSween.
Waits in the face-off circle, tries to get a stick on that. The puck rests just outside the red dot as the Russians come back on the attack. 2.5 minutes now remaining on the period. Zhitnik tries to get things going. That's left behind the goal. Hebert is down. Nicolishin was cruising in there, and Hebert puts the glove on it.
The Russians need a break. They just can't seem to put anything past Hebert. He's down. The puck is there. Wolanin's right in front of him. He makes sure that Hebert can hold on.
Face-off in U.S. territory. 3-0 to score. USA with a goal in the first period by Craig Janney, and then Scott Young with 2 in the second period. That's the way it stands. Hebert has been tested on numerous occasions, but up until this point anyway, the Russians have been unable to put the puck by him. Nicolishin taps it in along the boards. That goes behind the red line. Nicolishin breaking in, gets the shot away, and that deflects so that Chambers can pick it up. Again, more pressure from the Russians as the shot is pushed away. Another one right across the goal mouth. Sacco goes after this. Yashin is along the boards. Yashin tips that. Long pass is a good one. Ulanov tries to get a skate on it. Ulanov elected to shoot it in deep. Shot comes in again from Ulanov, but again it's blocked, and here come the Americans. A 2-on-1 situation. Sacco dumps it in. Lazaro goes for a change. He was the player on the left wing, and the Americans have to get out there quickly as that's thrown right across the rink to Bezuklednikov. McSween. Janney on the far side wanted the pass, and Podine comes up with a big hit on number 12, Gorbachev. Frolov comes up now. Puck bouncing off the boards, and the Americans getting back in a hurry just to get it out of the zone. Last minute in the period. Gorbachev taps it up. Bezukladnikov waits at the top of the circle, feeds it over, and the Russians now working in close. Hebert hangs on as Frolov took the shot. Bezukladnikov turns around and gets the shot, and Young gloves it down, but again, it's not out of the zone.
Podine out there without a stick, just trying to find a body to stay with.
Bezukladnikov is taken out of the play by Podine. That's all he can do. He's lost his stick, as you said, Bobs. Sorokin took the shot, and that went right into the corner. Sorokin again. 20 seconds on the period. Gorbachev is dumped. Gorbachev, good little move down on his knees. The backhander comes in, and that's wide of the target. Eventually, it's smothered against the boards, but the whistle still doesn't blow. Now it's going to blow.
Ron Wilson on the American bench will breathe a sigh of relief. I'll get that out eventually. Final minute of the period. The Americans do not want to give up a goal. All the momentum has been going their way in this period. The Russians fighting back hard. 3 or 4 good shots in this last minute. 9 seconds left in the period. Hill doing a good job just to try and get a whistle there. Makela got caught up in the play. Podine was without a stick. They're happy to hear that whistle blow.
Dropped back into the corner. Shot away to the far side to Lilly. Lilly takes a swipe at it, but can't get it out of the zone, and there goes the buzzer. Young and Janney have been the goal scorers. Young getting 2, Janney 1 after 40 minutes of hockey. Now it's 3-0, and it's looking pretty good, Bobs, for the Americans.
Well, the Russians, last year's world champions, the Americans, 6th place. Things can change. You never know. The Americans are looking good right now.
We have a break coming up. Stay with us. More action from Milan in a moment. Welcome back to the Forum in Milan. Paul Ferguson here with Richard Beaupre. USA leading Russia 3-0. Janney, Young, and then Young again, and that's the way it stands as we get set for this third and final 20 minutes of hockey. Excellent stuff from the Americans, closing down the Russians. Hebert is good between the pipes. Everything looks good.
Right now, you'd have to favor them coming into this third and final period. A great second period of play by the U.S.
Well, Chelios is over here. We talked about that at the beginning of the show. He's sitting in the stands. He worked out with the Americans this morning. But Chelios is not playing. Chivagli is not playing, and Lindsay is not playing. So they really are short, but you'd never know it. These guys are flying. They're making quick changes, 1 or 2 double shifts from Janney and Waite, and they're not letting the Russians settle into their own game.
Americans are playing with a great deal of confidence. Shaky start in the first period. The Russians applying good pressure, but the Russians really have sat back since then. The end of the first period, you got the feeling that the Americans were starting to wake up. They came out at the start of the second and really got their game together. They threw the puck around nicely. 2 power play goals by the U.S. They really got themselves on track. And this guy in the net, Guy Hebert, is having a great game for himself.
One of the main differences between this team and the American teams of the past is that these guys are staying out of the penalty box. They used to get silly penalties, cheap penalties in the past, and it seems like they have adapted to the European style of refereeing, so they're staying away from the clutching and grabbing that used to send them to the penalty box. That's the kind of stuff they used to get away with in the NHL, but they're not doing that anymore.
They're well aware that the European officials call things a lot tighter, especially the hooks, the holds. That one extra little slash you can normally get away with in North America. They can't get away with it here, and they're just holding back on it and doing a good job of it.
Shot by Biakin, save, and Janney tips it up. A chance now. Young coming down. Young winds up and lets a shot go, but Shendelev got a piece of that. Podine goes into the corner. The Americans playing from left to right. This third and final period underway now with 31 seconds gone. Biakin off the boards. Fedulov couldn't get that, and Beers picks it up. Beers throws it up to Sacco, and a quick change by the Americans. Sacco unable to hold it. Hebert goes down as Kamensky tries to push it in the net any way he can.
Beers trying to get the puck out of U.S. territory. Kamensky quick to pounce. He's on his off wing. He's got the legs going, a couple of crossovers, and he had the American beaten nearly there. Beers diving back into the play to get a piece of him. Hebert holding that near post and then holding his ground as Kamensky threw the puck in with his glove.
Face-off comes outside the zone.
No goal because of a hand pass.
The announcement in the background was no goal because of a hand pass. McSween being chased around the goal. Going in quickly is Kozlov. Kozlov moves in there, but Wolanin picks it up. He's got Sacco on the wing. Sacco tips it away from Ulanov. Zhidnik is way back in his own zone now. Kozlov coming right up the center. A 3-on-4 situation. Long shot off the plexi. Nicolishin goes in. Neaton gets a hold of it and just dumps it all the way down the ice. Icing is the call at 1:17 of the third period. 3-0 the score. USA leading the Russians. A very, very surprising scoreline coming into this game, but if you've been watching this game, it's not a surprising scoreline, if that makes sense.
Well, like we said, both teams on the given day with a couple of breaks are as good as anybody in the world. The Russians losing to the Canadians 3-1 in their last game. That was a tough defeat. The Americans were beaten soundly by the Swedes. Today is a new day, and right now it's going the right way for the U.S.
Bezukladnikov gets it out, but it's grabbed in the circle, and the Americans coming up quickly with Lilly flipping it in past Frolov. Sorokin gets it over. Imalin picks it up for Russia, and Imalin has got wheels. Imalin drops it off to Frolov. Little pass up on the wing, driven into the corner. The Russians are playing dump and chase out there. Right in front, Hebert cleared it away instead of grabbing it, and the Americans peppered off the boards, but Gorbachev got a piece of it. Bezukladnikov couldn't get a handle on that. And we come up to the 2-minute mark now as the Russians dump it in. It's popped all the way up. Thrown right in front, and Frolov got back in a hurry. Big hit by Lilly on the far side, the Tasmanian Devil as we call him. Got the big hit, the shot from Kamensky, a quick release upstairs on Hebert. He made the save, and that comes back into Russian territory.
U.S. going for a change. The Russians forced to go back. Good pressure from Bort.
Frolov. Return pass. Biakin is in there. Biakin taking off the puck. Podine now skates out and tries to knock that one away. The Russians again turning sharply to bring it over the blue line. Biakin unable to make that work as Kamensky broke on the left side. Riddled all the way in. Kovalenko being shadowed by Young. Biakin right across the goal, and Hebert goes down with Beers taking Biakin out of the play. Biakin is still down on the ice.
Chambers all over Kamensky in front of the net. Hebert did a good job of just getting a view of the puck, being able to see it as it came toward him from a sharp angle. Biakin with his left glove off, slow to get up. A couple of taps on the pads from the Russian players. Beers and Biakin having a few words for each other.
They don't want to lose Biakin for too long. This is one guy who makes things happen out there. Face-off deep in USA territory as Yashin gets set. Coming up to the 3-minute mark of this third period, Sweeney takes his time. The Americans looking to Coach Ron Wilson on the bench, eventually get into the face-off circle. Sacco took a chop there from Nicolishin. These two guys having words and glances at each other. Nicolishin now goes into the face-off circle. Puck comes back onto Wolanin's stick. He gets it up on the wing, and the Americans now back on the defense. Kozlov tries to get it out front. Kozlov working with Yashin. That comes along the blue line. The shot upstairs. Nicolishin is right in front. Wolanin had a piece of him.
That shot hurt. It hit Hebert in the left shoulder. He's favoring his arm a little bit.
The Americans pumped it down the ice, hoping they would get a icing call. That didn't work. In through neutral ice now. A chance. Yashin lets the shot go, deflected away, picks it up front. The deflection just doesn't come. Ulanov from the hash marks. Right across the goal again. Deflected away. Yashin and Nicolishin. Nicolishin on the far side. Yashin picks it up. Nicolishin buzzing around. The loose puck comes right back and deflected at the last moment by Lazaro. Kept back into the corner. Nicolishin is there, but the Americans again unable to pounce on it, but they're not letting the Russians get good quality shots on goal. Hebert comes out and smothers that.
The Russians have come out in this third period a lot hungrier than they were in the first two. They are really pressing the play. Hebert is not getting up. He's staying on his knees. He's stretched out with his left arm to cover the puck, and he is in pain. He's got his gloves off. The trainer coming out onto the ice for the U.S. He took a shot about a minute ago that really hurt. You could see him favoring it. He was trying not to show it, but as he reached out on this last play to cover the puck, he couldn't help but feeling the pain. He's being attended to right now. Nicolishin and Yashin putting together a good shift. The two of them really buzzing around the American goal.
24-year-old Les Kunter is sitting on the bench. He's the backup goalie.
A look as Hebert goes out and covers the puck up. Unless that arm literally falls out of the socket and falls onto the ice, they are not going to pull him out of the net. I can assure you Ron Wilson wants to keep him in there.
That was pretty descriptive.
Absolutely. They'll tape his arm on if they have to. They want that guy in the net.
Keep going, you're on a roll. This is a family show, remember. Hebert stays out there. 4:02 gone on the third period. The Russians are knocking on the door, but they're not getting anything by Hebert. Bezukladnikov in the face-off circle. That comes back. Bezukladnikov. The shot wide of the target. Ulanov let it go. There was no real steam on it. Neaton tying his man up as Neaton goes along the boards. The Russians trying to get those shots on goal, but the Americans are just keeping them wide. Lazaro loses his helmet on the far side of the rink. Neaton is in there. And again, the Americans go on the defensive as that goes back to Frolov. Shot comes in, steered away by Hebert. Imalin took a shot, deflected away. A bouncing puck along the bench as Waite tried to pick it up and move with it. Imalin was about to chase him, but the whistle blew.
Waite reaching onto the bench with his stick to try and pull the puck back into play. Lilly doing the right thing. He came in from behind, but he just took the player out, Sorokin. Rather than belting him into the boards, he would have been given a penalty for sure had he really come into Sorokin there. Lilly just shoved his man off the puck. Waite able to help clear the zone.
Coming up to the 5-minute mark now as that goes along to the hash marks, and Biakin goes back. Biakin deep. Moving up, the pass into neutral ice territory. Fedulov moves on the right. Kamensky is dumped. Official's arm stays down as it's picked up by Kovalenko. Kovalenko on the boards. That ricochets off of Jani. Jani out there now with Young on the wing. What a partnership this has been. Podine on the far side has been providing the muscle. Chambers getting in there. Kovalenko coming in quickly. Chambers off the boards. Jani picks it up. Two-line pass at 5:26 of this the third period.
Pass going by Sean Podine. Jani able to catch up with it, but he'd gone over two lines, the blue line and the center red line. The referees bring the puck all the way back.
I've never heard Mickey Mouse sung in Italian. Is that Italian? I think it is. It's difficult to decipher on the speakers, but they're doing everything here to keep the fans into this game. Ulanov circling. The shot comes in. Goaltender goes down, and Zhitnik wanted it all the time. Ulanov was circling. He had a great opportunity to get a good shot away. Given now to Kozlov. Kozlov speeds up on the right side. McSween takes him down. Lazaro was there. Lazaro rockets that off the boards. And Ulanov is there to pick it up. Zhitnik on the far side just throws it back in. Wolanin goes in quickly. Nikolishin is on him. Wolanin wins that, but the Russians pick it up and try to jam it in. Yashin was right there. And Hebert held his ground, and the Americans change on the fly, as do the Russians. Lilly goes in and provides a little muscle. Zhitnik wants a loose puck, picks it up and grabs it. Penalties coming up.
Well, Lilly asking why he's got to go to the penalty box. Lilly, who is never short of showing his aggression. He's short in stature, but that's about it. Really giving number 18, Kozlov, a rough ride. He takes him down on the ice, puts him in the headlock. A little bit of wrestling involved here. Kozlov gets up and reacts to it. Both players go to the penalty box.
Time in the penalties, 6:26 here in the third period. Roughing on Kozlov as he sits for 2. Lilly also in for 2. Face off deep in Russian territory. 3-0 the score. The Americans leading this one as Waite watches that go behind the goal. Bezukladnikov breaks on the far wing. Frolov drops it up on the left wing. A 2-on-3 situation. The wrist shot coming from Emalin deflects away in the corner. Bezukladnikov picks up the puck. Emalin is dropped by Neaton. A 2-on-2 situation. Bezukladnikov eventually picks himself up as Emalin gets the puck back. The shot comes in and Hebert's there. Sorokin unable to put it over the red line. Not a lot of steam on that, but the idea was right.
Hebert not only has a good glove hand, he is so quick down low. He's got good quick feet, gets his pads down. Good save there with the right leg.
.133 remaining on the penalties to Russia and the USA. Kamensky out there now, face off in USA territory. Kovalenko. That comes all the way back to Biakin. Biakin takes the shot, deflects off a skate, and the Americans pick it up and bring it out of the zone. Chambers hits the red line. Big shot on Stalenkov. He hasn't been tested in a long time. 1:18 remaining on the penalties. 7:11 gone on the period. Sacco trying to break away, ran into traffic, and back comes Biakin. Biakin moving in now. Shot, rebound, they score! Good work by Biakin. Kovalenko came in nicely to tidy up.
Well, the initial save was there from Hebert. He did his job. He couldn't find the rebound. Not much of a chance for Guy Hebert. He's getting up slowly. Biakin is right in on the net. The Americans are trying to get back together. Chambers and Beer is quite far apart, trying to close it down. Biakin got a shot away. Hebert was up for that one, but the rebound was right on the stick of Kovalenko.
7:20 the time of the goal. One minute, 7 seconds remaining on the penalties. That comes back onto the U.S. defense. Wolonin takes an elbow from Ulanov. They exchange words and play continues. I don't think I'd want to put too many elbows in Wolanin's face, that's for sure. Wolanin gets the big stick in to Nikolishin. McSween doubles back and gives it to Wolanin. Wolanin flips it high out of the zone. Zhitnik going back in a hurry through the circle. Zhitnik fakes the shot. Yashin, good move, lets one ride right at the goalie. Good save.
The Americans could certainly do with slowing things down once again. They aren't generating much offense, and they can't afford to sit back in a defensive shell. The Russians are starting to fly. The goal has lifted them. Yashin coming in on this play. The red shirts are really buzzing out there now. Hill stepping up toward Yashin. The puck was right into the chest protector of goaltender Hebert.
31 seconds now on the coincidental penalties as we approach the 8-minute mark of this period. Kovalenko over to the far side for Bourque. Bourque drops it back. Hill calls for it and gets it at the blue line. Hill just happy to flip it down the ice as Waite shadows Shendelev. Kamensky goes up on the far side, and the Russians now with Kamensky crisscrossing. Drop pass is not a good one by Biakin. Waite has it, and he moves up with Neaton. Waite gets a little support from Bourque. Bourque comes in. Bourque, the shot is wide of the target. Both teams are back to full strength now as the Americans change on the fly. Penalty coming up.
Bourque hooked down on the play. The Russians will go to the box. Kozlov makes his way in there. Bourque had the wheels going. He took the puck back out of the Russian zone. Waite trying to get into the play. It appeared to me that Shendelev pulled him down. Kozlov sits for two.
Kozlov and Shendelev double teaming Bourque. 8:34, 2-minute penalty. The Americans are on the power play. They lead it by 2 goals. Face-off right on the red line. Young tried to get a handle on that. It comes back to Beers. Beers flips it to the far side. Beers again. Crosses over. The intended pass was for Podine. That didn't work. Mullen got a piece of it. Young drops it back. Beers will have to go deep to collect. Podine circles one way. Long shot into the corner. The Americans now looking to get in there quickly to set it up. Chambers back at the blue. Everyone digging along the boards. Chambers unable to get anything on that. Is hit hard into the boards. That comes back. Shot comes in. Goaltender down. Young picks it up. Young with a lot of time looking to wrap it round. Podine goes in. And Chambers right at the blue rattles that into the corner of the hash marks. Janney leaves it there. Janney looking for the return pass as that's held along the boards. Janney moves in to help out. The Americans not giving anything away as Mullen comes in and chases Beers around the net. Beers picks up a head of steam. Beers hits the blue line. Sacco is trailing. Waite is trailing. Beers in the corner. And eventually shot all the way down the ice as the Russians get fresh legs on the ice.
30 seconds left on Kozlov's penalty. The Americans have changed on the move as well.
Waite hits the blue line. Waite working his way around. Sweeney's coming in. Sweeney couldn't get the shot away as he went right through the circle. The Russians coming back quickly with Zhitnik now. Zhitnik drop pass. Picked up eventually by Yashin. Yashin gets around Waite. Fans on the shot. The first one was fanned, but the second one was away. Penalty coming up against the Americans. Goaltender off the ice. Kamensky jumps on. Right out front. Nikolitin pops it back into the corner. To the far side. Sweeney looking to get a touch on this, and he does, and there goes the whistle.
Slashing the call, going against the U.S. Kozlov had come back out of the penalty box. Stalenkov had gone to the bench. The Russians, for a few seconds, had 6 players on the ice. The puck was worked around the boards. Neaton eventually makes his way to the box for slashing.
Power play the other way now as the Americans look to go on the defensive here with the face-off in their zone at 10:48. Top of the circle as well. They'll drop the puck. Podine, Fedulov. Both teams taking a lot of time to set this one up. The teams have played 5 games. This is the 6th. in this tournament. 6 games in a week is a lot of games. Biakin, you can see out there 1 or 2 of the players are really feeling the pace. Fedulov breaks on the left side. Kamensky makes a move. Offside is the call.
Kamensky with 1 move too many right at the blue line. The Russians were all going into the American zone.
.139 left on the penalty to Neaton. Face-off just outside the American zone. The Americans are slowing it down now, taking their time to get out on the ice and hopefully taking the steam, hopefully from their point of view, taking the steam out of the Russian attack. Kamensky backhands it in. McSween will get this. McSween throws it along the boards. It comes all the way back to Biakin. Biakin working with Kamensky. That goes out over the blue line. The Russians will have to come out of the zone as Sweeney forechecks. Shendelev provides a little interference as Biakin drives it along the boards, and that's shot down the ice. 1 minute 9 seconds on the power play. Long pass by the goaltender. Kamensky picks it up in neutral ice territory now. Kamensky can do it on his own. That shot deflected away by Beers. Chambers gets onto that. Tapped all the way back onto the D. Imalin moves in slowly. Imalin with a lot of time. Kamensky tries to get it out front. Loose puck is there. And the Americans with Podine getting a glove on it. Makela not happy about that. He's saying the puck was picked up and thrown away.
Well, Makela going to the penalty box to let the officials know what his ideas are and his thoughts about this play. The players on the ice are all questioning it. Podine going to the box. He had closed his hand on the puck. As the puck came right in front to Hebert, it was bouncing around. The Americans were just desperate to get it out of the zone. Podine right there grabs the puck and throws it toward the blue line. Makela reacted by issuing a 2-minute penalty on the play. 41 seconds left on Neaton's penalty. 5-on-3 opportunity now for the Russians.
Face-off in USA territory. Yashin goes out. Sweeney is there. And bobbles over to the far side, and Zhitnik moves along the blue line. Gets right at the top of the slot. The shot comes in. Hebert goes down with Yashin right there. Ulanov had closed in to take the shot.
Momentarily the puck was there, but Kozlov didn't see it. Puck being directed toward the goal. Chambers gets a piece of it. Hebert jumps on it before Kozlov can see it. The Americans were looking comfortable at 3-0 after 2 periods of play. It's now 3-1. They've got to fight off a 5-on-3. The Russians are still right in there.
Wilson spoke to Beers as he skated over towards the bench and said, "You and Chambers switched sides on the face-off," and that's what they did. Yushkevich at the top of the circle takes the shot right on goal, and Hebert makes a save, and that's pushed out over the blue line. Young jumps on the ice. Zhitnik, return pass to Zhitnik. Yushkevich wants it on this side. The one-timer doesn't come, and the Americans have killed off 1 penalty. Neaton jumps on the ice now, and 1:15 remaining on the second penalty to Podine for grabbing the puck. 13 minutes gone on the period. Just 7 minutes remaining for the Russians to bring themselves back into this one. Zhitnik gets it back to Yashin. Back to Zhitnik. Flips it all the way along, and the little tip in is banged away. The Americans doing a great job on that blue line. Bork really getting a piece of that one. Fedulov breaking on his own. Fedulov now gets a little support. Drops it right through, going in. Good poke check on Kamensky. He was steaming.
Hebert with a great play, very alertly getting the stick out, taking it off Kamensky's stick.
Another big shot coming in by Kamensky. That one way upstairs. Biakin wasted that one, but the rebound was right there. Kamensky is robbed again. Heber comes up big.
Large group of supporters on hand. A lot of Swedish people here in the crowd giving Heber a good round of applause. Hill unable to clear the puck out of the zone. He was complaining after the whistle that his stick was grabbed. Action continued. Kamensky thought he had a goal for himself. Heber had other ideas, and he made a great glove save.
Kamensky, formerly with the Red Army team, and then he moved on to Quebec. Now back with the Russian national team here in the World Championships. Unable to get his name on the score sheet. 13:49 gone on the period. 18 seconds on Podine's penalty, and you can see once again the Americans doing what they can to slow down this attack. Another stick is called for.
Sweeney taking his time. Referee Makela going right over to the bench with him to make sure that it wasn't a con. It doesn't really matter. Sweeney got the job done. At the end of the day, whether he really wanted another stick or not, he has got one.
How many times have you seen a guy go over, give the stick man a stick, and then get the same one back after about a 5-second search along the stick rack? They'll do that, but the referee went over to make sure he got another one. The shot comes in. That's deflected away all the way back to Shendelev. Tipped along the boards, and Kovalenko is there. The Russians throwing the puck around, running out of time out there. USA back at full strength. Kamensky unable to get it out in front, and the USA shoot it all the way down the ice. Icing will be the call, but they've killed off 2 penalties.
The Americans doing a great job while short-handed, 5-on-3 and then 5-on-4. They can now regroup. They're at full strength. And they've stalled enough time in the last minute or two to give Heber a little bit of a rest. He's tired, possibly with this flu that we've heard that he has. He was suffering from stomach cramps. He may be a bit dehydrated. He's been drinking a heck of a lot of water out there. About every 5 minutes, Wolanin or somebody's carrying a fresh water bottle over to him.
Bezukladnikov tries to push that beyond Jani. It goes back behind the goal, and the Americans now coming up quickly. Jani unable to get it, but Young comes behind him and collects and flips it into the zone. Frolov is back deep. Bezukladnikov breaks on the right wing. Frolov works it up center. And the Americans coming back and stacking that blue line. Jani is high, the other 4 right along the blue.
That'll be icing going against the Russians. Face-off will come back down into Stelenkov's end of the ice. The ice isn't that chipped up down there. Most of the play has been in the U.S. zone during this period. Russians have pulled 1 back, but they need a couple more.
Stelenkov has not been tested for a long time. And perhaps a quality shot by the Americans could surprise him. The face-off deep in Russian territory. Sorokin picks it up and bangs it up along the boards. Rink-wide pass, and the Russians quickly out of their own zone. Frolov fires it in, icing the call.
Frolov not happy with himself. The pass was too far for the intended receiver. The Russians again called for icing. They'll change up the troops out there and try and get something going.
Nikolishin, Yashin, and Kozlov step on the ice. This is the... Well, I don't know if it's the number 1 line or the number 2 line. If you look at Kamensky's line, they've been playing some good hockey. But these guys really have been aggressive. Excellent forechecking, and they're working well together. Yashin back from Ottawa. Kozlov back from Detroit. Nikolishin fresh from the Olympics. Waite gets it back. Picked up by Nikolishin, though, on the right wing. Nikolishin has Kozlov working back. Sean Hill goes in against Nikolishin. Hill trying to tie him up. The puck is along the boards. The Russians. Kozlov picks it up. Kozlov looking to go places. Winds up in front. Shot high on the glove side. Misses the target. Neaton ties his man up, and the puck goes out of the zone. Zhitnik gets the pass over to the far side, and the Americans get a lucky bounce and pick up the puck. Back on the Russian sticks as 3 Russians go over the blue line. Little tap in front, and Hebert tried to get the glove on it, and it just squirted away, and once again it's fired all the way down the ice.
Both teams are starting to tire now. Anytime there's any trouble or confusion around the front of the goal, both teams aren't shy about just icing the puck in an attempt to get fresh bodies out onto the ice. The whistle's probably favoring the Americans right now. Hebert, again, going to the water bottle. The U.S. taking as much time for Guy Hebert as they can.
I think it's fair to say that the USA have had a tougher time of it in this tournament. They've had to play the Finns, the Czechs, and the Swedes, whereas the Russians really only had opposition from Canada. Bouncing puck right in front. Cleared away by Sacco at the last minute. Ulanov dumps it in. Hebert gets a stick on that. Fedulov will get it on the far side. He eventually lost out to Lazaro. We got a penalty coming up.
We sure do, Paul. Slashing the call, Lazaro. Checking the chiclets out, if we want to use that word again. He's counting his teeth. He took an accidental high stick. He appears to be all right. He comes over to the bench, gets a little pat on the back from Doug Waite. The Russians go to the penalty box. They certainly didn't need a call like that at this time in the game. Less than 4 minutes to play, slashing the call. Fedulov in the box.
Face-off will be on the Russian side of the red line. Jani is already there. The Russians are taking a lot of time to set it up. Bezukladnikov is there with Imalin. Jani gets it back to Young, back to Beers, and the Americans have got a power play now for 2 minutes, and there's less than 4 minutes on the game. Young breaks up middle as the shot comes up to Podine. Podine just fires it in off the plexi. Set up on the far side. Jani tries to get it out front, and the Russians breaking quickly now. The Americans trying to get back as Imalin comes up onto the blue. Whistle on the play for offside. Imalin coming up with Bezukladnikov, and we'll have a face-off just outside the USA blue line.
Even shorthanded, the Russians have got to be going toward the American goal as much as they can. They broke out of their own zone very quickly. Bezukladnikov and Imalin trying to get something going offside on the play. Good work from the 2 Russian forwards.
Bezukladnikov loses out to Jani. Chambers slowly floats back behind the goal. Chambers feeds it up on the boards. Podine unable to handle that. Sorokin on the far side. Long pass up to Imalin. Imalin starts down the left side, puts it into Bezukladnikov. Bezukladnikov working in on goal. Who's got the penalty out there? Little bouncing puck. Sorokin now in the corner. His pass is deflected away, and the Americans go for a quick change as Frolov throws it quickly up onto the blue. Bezukladnikov is out-muscled by Chambers. Waite wants to get in there and help out, and he does. Less than 3 minutes now on the hockey game. The Americans are leading the Russians 3-1. Sean Hill comes up now, just taps it gently on the boards. Ulanov deep in the corner. 38 seconds on the power play. The Russians haven't had a shot on goal in this power play, and they haven't had one on goal for at least 7 minutes. Sacco on the far side will just rag it along the boards. Ulanov is in there trying to get it free. Waite tries to get it out, and that doesn't work. The Russians eventually get it out with just 16 seconds on the power play. Fired right back in. Stalenkov out of his net. We've got 2 minutes and 5 seconds remaining on the hockey game. The Russians look tired. Waite comes up. Waite takes the shot right on the goal. Stalenkov stumbled with that one. The puck came out, and the Russians are back at full strength. 1 minute, 50 seconds remaining. Kozlov couldn't handle that. Both teams again changing quickly. Zhitnik, a rink-wide pass, goes too far. Icing is the call, and that will not please the Russian coach.
Coach Mikhailov looking up at the time clock from the bench. The Russians have a lot of work to do. Minute and 37 seconds left to play in this game. They're trailing by 2 goals. The loss will send the Russians home, but it'll send the Americans on into the next game for them. The Swedes are taking on the Italians later today. There's still a lot of hockey left to play in these World Championships.
Canada will take on the Czechs tomorrow. The Finns against the Austrians. Jani working out there with Young. Jani, Young, both of them keeping it in the zone. A minute and a half remaining on the game. Fedulov starts it off. Kamensky breaks to the far side. Fedulov drops it back as the Russians come up to the American blue line. A high puck is gloved down by Jani. He just gets it out of the zone. Fedulov is there to pick it up. The Americans just stacking that blue line. Again, tipped away, but not out. This time it will go out as the Americans go for another quick change. The final minute of the hockey game. And Byakin has it, unable to get over the red line, let alone the blue line. Now he flips it in the corner and chases. McSween is there. He flips it to the far side. Fedulov wants it on the hash marks, and it's his. Drops it off as Podine takes his man out. The Russians circling that net. Right out front, Hebert is there, loose puck. And eventually, with everyone piling in, the whistle blows.
Kovalenko taking a couple of extra shots at Hebert as he went down for the putt. Podine, Beers, Chambers, take your pick. All the boys back there to the rescue.
In a situation like that, Podine is the man you want out there, isn't he?
Well, he's got good strength. He really does work hard. He's got long reach as well. He can normally get the puck out of the zone along the boards. Beers is tough in front of the net. He's also quick for a guy his size. Kovalenko, small but very clever, really digging away to try and put something into the net.
I think Podine was a lumberjack in his previous life, the way he was having a go at Kovalenko. 39 seconds on the hockey game, 3-1 the score. The Americans are hanging in there. Long shot into the corner. Chambers will get there first. Chambers rattles that off the plexiglass. It comes out into neutral ice territory. The Russian net is wide open. Kozlov has Kamensky. Feeds that through, and it's blocked. Beers was right there. 18 seconds. Good defensive stuff from Tim Sweeney, too. All the Russians are up at the blue line. Zhitnik tries to get it through. Kozlov now. Chambers slices at that, but can't get it away. The Americans getting back in numbers. 2 seconds on the clock, and the Americans have won this hockey game. Everyone goes back to congratulate Hebert. Hebert, for me, the most valuable player in this one. He really did perform well.
Hebert had a heck of a game in between the pipes for the Americans. My player of the game is going to be Craig Janney. I think he was instrumental in creating the goals. Scored one himself, fed a nice one off the young. I'll go with Janney for my player of the game. Ron Wilson congratulating the assistant coaches on the bench. A good performance by the U.S.
I thought Byakin played particularly well. He injured his hand, but went out on the next shift, and he did a lot of good defensive stuff. Offensively, he was very strong. He tried everything he could to get the Russians on the scoreboard.
Valery Kamensky will be my player of the game for the Russians. He was all over the ice. Number 13 never gave up. He really did put in a good game for the Russian team. Paul, I want you on your feet to listen to this American national anthem.
You forget I'm a Canadian. The Americans celebrate, and they know that they will have to take on the winner of Finland-Austria, a game that will be played tomorrow. Just a reminder that tonight the Swedes take on the Italians here in Milan, 8 o'clock Central European time, 7 o'clock in Britain. But what a performance from the Americans, folks.
A good, gutsy effort by the U.S. all the way through.
The awards for the best player of the match.
Well,
and the awards for the best players.
we're having a little interference on the soundtrack here. I'll ask that question again. We'll have to do it quickly. What a good performance by the Americans.
I'll be happy to repeat, it was a good, gutsy performance after defeats by the Finns and the Swedes. They really got their game together. They were underdogs coming into this one against the Russians, and they pulled out all stops, and they scored 3 lovely goals for themselves.
They played some smart hockey.
They did. It was good, solid defense. It all starts from the goal, doesn't it? And it goes forward. Hebert in the net was solid. The defense moved the puck. They played the body well, and the forwards got on track, and they scored 3 goals.
Player of the match for Russia.
The player of the match,
Number 13, Valery Kamensky.
Kamensky, gets player of the match. I don't think that'll make him feel good at all. He tried so hard to put the puck in the net, but on at least 3 occasions he was stopped by Hebert between the pipes. Hebert, a great job of goaltending for USA, coming up big on Kamensky, as well as just about everyone else on the Russian team. Hebert, as we predicted, would be the man of the match, is the man of the match.
Well, we got a split there, Paul. You said Hebert. I wasn't going to go against that decision. I felt Jani played really well. The whole side put in a good game. I got Kamensky, so we're 50-50 there.
Who's going to buy the drinks tonight?
I still think it's your round. I was telling you that last night, but you had to get back to watch that rerun of Starsky and Hutch, so I don't know.
So the Swedes against the Italians, that's going to be tough. It's not going to be an easy one for the Swedes. The Italians will play in front of 10,000 people here in the Forum in Milan, and it's going to be a great atmosphere, so be sure to join us. There's a lot of support here for Sweden, but there'll be even more support for the Italians. I'm looking forward to that one.
That's going to be a good game. The Italians have been playing very well. The Swedes always play well when it comes to the second round of play. There's a large group of Swedish people in Milan, and the Italians aren't going to be short of support.
Just to recap, the Americans started things off at 17:33 with Jani on a power play goal. In the second period, 3:53 Young, and then 6:43 Young again. So after 40 minutes of hockey, it was 3-0. Kovalenko came back in the third period at 7:20 to put the puck in the net. Too little, too late. We're going to go now. We hope you enjoyed this one. USA advancing into the next round. The Russians will go home. And that's the way it ends after 60 minutes of hockey. USA 3, Russia 1. Both teams now going together to shake hands, which is nice because it was